Cheers to a new year and another chance to get it right. Oprah Winfrey.
Are you ready to make the most of the only life you have? To make smart money choices focused on achieving what you care about most? Here to help you balance living well today without sacrificing your tomorrow is the retirement answer man, Roger Whitney.
Hey, welcome to Retirement Answer Man 2017. Bigger, badder, stronger than ever. Welcome to the show. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's, safe New Year's. I'm excited about this year. Now, I don't make resolutions. I do choose a word that I want to focus on, and I've talked about this before. And my word for 2017 that I want to live out is focus. I want to close the aperture on the things that I'm doing and focus on the high impact activities. So in my family, with my kids and my wife, I want to focus on less but deeper stuff. In my business, I want to focus on being able to speak into the clients that I walk life with even more to hopefully have an impact on their life. And on this podcast, I want to focus a little bit more on creating content that's really going to help you take your journey to the next level and planning for retirement. So we're going to have a lot more case studies. We're going to have some other things that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. So I want to challenge you. What's your word for 2017? What word do you want to live out based on where you're at in your life? It's a good thing to think about. So let's get going with the first episode of 2017 right after this important disclaimer. That's right, we're back for 2017. Bigger, badder, stronger disclaimers. Hey, don't take advice from me on the show. Don't think anything here is personal recommendations to you. This is helpful hints and education. I don't know anything about you. I only give advice to clients I work with as a fiduciary. So before you make any decisions, talk to your legal advisor, your tax advisor, or your financial advisor. That's just common sense. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Hot Topic segment where we talk about something hot in the news or current events. And today we're going to talk about 2017, the year the gloves came off. That's supposed to be the Rocky theme. Anyway, gloves are off in 2017. Now, many of you know that over the last month or so, I dropped my security licenses, which I have held for, 26, 27 years, and became a fee-only advisor. I was already acting as a fee-only advisor, so it wasn't a huge deal in terms of my business. I basically operate the same way that I did. But in alignment with that word focus, I adjusted my responsibilities at my firm to push away things that were more administrative so I could focus more solely only on serving clients. And part of that was dropping my security licenses. Now, why is this important to you? Well, it's important to you because it's going to allow me to do much more on the show. Like, get this, say the words mutual fund. Do you realize I haven't been allowed to say the words mutual fund on the podcast for over 2.5 years? I would say investment strategy, all these other things. I can't say the word mutual fund or variable annuity. I was hamstrung by a lot of regulatory requirements that came with having my securities licenses of even saying those words because it's an investment product. And if I earn commissions on investment products, if I say those words, then there's this whole rigmarole regulatory requirements that I have to follow. But now that I'm a fee-only advisor and I don't earn commissions on anything, I can say those words and it's okay. So what does that mean for you? Well, one, we're going to be able to talk a little bit more freely about things. I still have regulatory requirements that I have to meet because I am a practicing financial planner. But what this means for you is on the show, we're going to have a lot more investment management topics in 2017 on portfolio construction and how to do diligence on managers and things like that. Many of you have asked for that. We're going to have a lot more case studies in 2017 because you've asked for that. We have the first one coming up in February. I've already chosen a subject. We're getting that going, and we're going to hear from the first Retirement Plan Live participant, Karl, here on today's episode. So we're going to have more case studies. we're going to have a lot more question and answers where you ask the questions and I do mini case studies on the issues that you ask when I provide my answers. Another big change for 2017 is every Monday, I will be releasing an article on the blog. That's at rogerwhitney.com/blog. So every Monday, we're going to have an article. A lot of them will be based on past podcasts that go a little bit more in depth on the topics that we talk about and have links that can get you to information to help you along that way. Now, the cool thing about doing the blog is there's a comment section underneath the blog where you can share your thought on that particular topic, maybe your experience on that particular topic, and I'm going to be there moderating the conversation in the comments section. So that's a great place for us to have a little bit of community around a specific topic because I'll tell you, together, we all know a lot more than any one of us. So that's going to be a great place. So every Monday, you can find that article at rogerwhitney.com/blog. So that's one way that you can help up the game on the content we have is by commenting because we can share articles together. The other way that you can help in making 2017 even better for you on this show is by asking your questions. If you have retirement questions, go to rogerwhitney.com/retirement answers. And there's a place for you to fill out an email with the question that you have, and I will reply directly and I'll try to answer it on the show. But if you could click on the voice option, there's a SpeakPipe widget there where you can click and actually record your voice and ask the question in your own words. That would be wonderful for two reasons. One is it's going to make it much more personal and you'll be able to ask the question in your own voice. And two, it's going to be much more dynamic. It's much more interesting to listen to having other people on the show rather than me just battering about. So if you have questions, go to rogerwhitney.com/retirement answers and ask those questions. And if you're willing to put it on voice, that would be awesome. And then go to the blog and you can check that out. So real exciting. I think this is going to be a great 2017 where we're going to have a lot more specific content that gets deeper into the things that you are asking about or having issues with. Now, I had talked about Retirement Plan Live, the live case study, and we have picked the participant. But first, I want to go back and talk to our first participant in the practical planning segment. So today we are going to revisit with Karl. Now, Karl was the first subject of the Retirement Plan Live series. And actually, in some ways, it was his idea, and you'll hear us talk about that. So Karl was 2 years ago, so he is well on his way towards retiring here in the next few years. So in preparation for the Retirement Plan Live series that's going to start in February, I thought we'd revisit with Karl and see how he's doing on his journey. So let's have a conversation with Karl. 2 years ago, we started the first Retirement Plan Live, and it all happened from a listener suggesting, hey, why don't we do a blog post as a case study? And we have Karl, the person that actually came up with the idea, here on the phone. How you doing, Karl?
Hey, I'm doing great, Roger. Happy New Year. How are you, my friend?
Now, did you ever think that that blog post idea would morph into probably what people say is, what they like most about the show and they want to see more of?
It's beyond my wildest expectations. Personally, when I went through it with you, I got more out of it than I thought I would have gotten out of it. It was a tremendous experience. And then to now hear your listener feedback, I listened to your latest podcast on the changes you're making for 17 and the fact that now you're going to add 2 of these a year, that really made me feel good because obviously other people are benefiting from it as well. So I'm very happy with it. Yeah, it's great.
I guess we all like to see how other people are dealing with the issues that we're dealing with. It just makes us, I think it empowers us a little bit. Maybe that's part of what it is.
Yeah, and I think that the demographics are such. There's just so many of us that are within this 5-year window of retirement, and the more that we can hear about how other people are dealing with it, we're all facing the same challenges. We have the same questions, and there's only so many avenues where you can kind of reach out and learn. And obviously, the Retirement Answer Man is one of the go-to places. So I think it's a real niche that people are very interested in right now for a lot of reasons.
So you are now 52 years old, correct?
I am 53, actually. 50. So, yeah.
Okay. So you are 53. And 2 years ago, you were trying to figure out how to retire in 2018. So how are you on that journey?
We're actually in really good shape. If you think back to the series, we had talked about certain steps that we were going to take, and we've done a lot of those steps. The biggest one of which was selling our house in the city and moving up to our cabin in the mountains, which we did in April of this year. We took the proceeds from the sale of our house and we paid off the mortgage on the cabin. So we're entirely debt free as of April of 2016. And right now we're on track. We're probably going to delay it a little bit, probably till June of 18, just to build a little bit more of a buffer for some of the healthcare inflation concerns. But basically we're on track. And I think right now, unless something unforeseen happens, we're pretty firm on June of 18 at the latest at this point that we're going to plan on retiring. I'll be out at 55 years, just after I turn 55 years old. So we're very happy about it.
So since that initial call, I've started to call that phase, once the children are in college is where you really start to simplify and reimagine your life. And that's something that you did. Now, I had the pleasure of visiting with you and your wife at your old home.
Yep.
So how big was that house? Square footage?
That was a pretty good sized house. I think it was about 4,500 square feet with 30 years worth of stuff, So we had, years worth of accumulation like everybody does, basement full of garbage, and the cabin that we moved to is only about 2,400 square feet. So it's
good
roughly half as big.
Still good size cabin.
Yeah, still good size, 3-bedroom, 3-bath. And, but the interesting thing was when we bought the cabin, it was fully furnished. So we basically had 2 homes worth of furniture. And when it's kind of a funny story, and I wrote an article about this on my blog, but we sold our house much quicker than we thought we were going to sell it. We actually sold it in 7 days after we listed it, and then we had to be out of the house in 30 days. So we had to sell 30 years worth of stuff out of our house. And when we started looking at our calendar, we had like a weekend that we were going to be home between now and the closing date. So we did this massive Craigslist fire sale, and we got rid of just tons of stuff in 24 hours. It was crazy. But I tell you what, to get rid of all that surplus stuff and really be intentional and downsize, that is so rewarding. And it's a wonderful feeling to get rid of all that stuff, and you can just feel like you're ripping the anchor out of the mud, and you're just getting ready to sail. It's a really good feeling, but it's a lot of work. But we got through it.
So I was going to ask how it felt, because a lot of people have attachments to their backyard, to how their living room looks, those things like that. Was there any of that we're going to miss that and we're not going to have that anymore? Or was it, this is, you really were looking only forward?
I would say more the latter. I guess one of the benefits in my career, we've moved like 7 or 8 times, maybe 9 now, counting the move to the cabin. So we've always kind of viewed our home as a, extended stay hotel. I mean, it's a little bit more attachment than that, but we've always recognized that, the home is not important. It's the family and the memories and things like that. So we didn't have a huge attachment to the home. Some of the stuff in the house, I'd had memories from childhood and, I had some stuff from my grandparents' home and things like that. But, as it was flying out the door on that Saturday that we did this blitz sale, it was surprising how little remorse or, sorrow there was. It was much more the latter, where we were just excited about it. And, it was a really good feeling. And we didn't sit there and think about all the sentimental stuff. We were just kind of glad to get rid of stuff. And it was the right mental attitude to go about it, I think.
Now, remind me, how far away did you move from your house?
We moved about 100 miles north up into the mountains.
Okay. So now talk to me about the social aspect in terms of friends, church, because you sort of blow all that up to a point, right?
Yeah, you do. And that's definitely, it's good that we did it before we retired, because it's given us time now to get connected in our new community. We've gotten involved in a new church here. We've gotten involved in some charities. We're starting to build the friendships. And the other thing we've done, because it is only 100 miles away, we've tried to be intentional to the extent possible of maintaining those friendships from home. You always have a couple of really close friends. And with those couple of close friends, they've come up to visit us. We've gone down there. So we're trying to keep that relationship alive as well. But obviously, you have to reestablish yourself in the new community. And that takes time. I think one of the lessons we learned from it is don't wait until you retire to suddenly, pull out your anchors and take off, because retirement's a big enough transition in and of itself. If you also lose all that social network at the same time, that's kind of a lot to handle at once. So it's worked out really well for us to kind of have it phased, and do the relocation build the new network, and then, a year or so from now, go through the retirement phase. I think that's worked out pretty well for us.
And you've had this cabin for a while.
Yeah, we did, but it was primarily a weekend place. We weren't connected to the community. We kind of came up as, a little, maybe a week-long vacation and a lot of weekends, and we rented it and things like that. So we didn't really have the connection to the community like we do now, living here full-time.
But you knew the area, and so you knew you felt comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that transition's going well, and I think there are some really good lessons to learn out of that. I need to have you talk to my wife, because I'm like, okay, let's downsize, and she is the opposite of you. She is attached to the house.
I remember, I think you've talked about you want to go downtown Fort Worth and get like a little condo right in the city and be able to walk around. I think I remember you talking about that. So yeah, that's funny. Fortunately, my wife and I are very much aligned on the whole downsizing. We love this area where we're at now, and we did not have any internal disagreement at all on the direction we were going, which that's a significant issue. So yeah, you're right. It's something you got to work through with your spouse, and you both got to be on board with the direction you go, no doubt.
Yeah, our compromise is we're keeping the house, so you can see how much power I have.
Roger lost.
Roger lost. But we're going to and she agrees with this, is that once she retires, because she'll retire long before I do, we're going to go live in different places for 6 months.
Perfect. Perfect.
So
yeah.
That way we can have a little bit of the best of both worlds and have that home base. Plus, it's so cheap down here in Texas anyway. Why would we sell it?
Yeah, that's right.
So now we had to make some compromises when we revealed everything. So why don't you give us just an overall framework of what your current plan is?
Yeah. So at this point, we are, as we talked about in the sequence, we were going to downsize the house, which we've done. The next phase was going to be setting ourselves up to be able to go out and go RVing for 6 months out of the year. So we actually we're over the holiday break here as we're recording this, and over the holiday break we've been out looking at some pickup trucks and things like that. So we're very quickly closing in on the next phase, which will be setting ourselves up to be able to go, for extended travel periods and national parks and things like that. So at this point, the plan is in, summer of 2018, we'll take off, I'll retire and we'll take off on our first big trip. And, we're open to just kind of see where it goes. We're not going to pre-plan everything. We're just going to head west and, go to the national parks and do some things like that. And the thought at this point, obviously we recognize situations change, but, the thought at this point is we'll probably do 6 months of the year traveling and 6 months of the year at our home base here at the cabin, and kind of do that for a couple of years and see how it goes. And, we talked about during our Can Karl Retire series, we may throw in some small working, experiences along the way, not for the financial aspect, but more just for the, social interaction and getting engaged in an area. So we might work in a national park for a summer, or, do some things like that. That's what we had talked about, and that's still very much the plan. So fingers crossed, that's kind of where we're heading, and things look like they're on track.
Now, when we had talked offline, it was, hey, maybe we move the date up to a year earlier, but then you decide, well, maybe I'll work one more year. What was the logic behind that?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on that. And I'll tell you what really convinced me, Roger, is we have a really good friend of ours. You talked about the friends back in our old town. This is one of our really good friends. We've kept in close touch with him. And this guy's a couple years older than me, but very similar age frame of making the decision to retire. And he was torn between, should I work one more year or should I leave now? And I'm able to leave now, but I'm, blah, blah, blah. So we went back and forth, and he decided to put in one extra year of work, and he's now been retired about a year and a half. And he has told me repeatedly in that year and a half that that's the best decision he made. He said, there's just so much peace of mind. He said, you're never going to make the income that you're making at the peak of your career, which is where we're at. And he said, to put in one more year, it goes so quickly. When you're in the middle of it feels like it's kind of taking some time. But when you get done with it, the rest of your life, you've got that little extra buffer, and it just brings so much peace of mind that you just don't really have to worry about the finances. You still worry about them, right? We're human, but it adds such a buffer of confidence in your numbers. And so, we're learning from those that have gone before us, right? I take his advice strongly. And because of that, we decided, if we get out at 55, we're still very young. We're still very active. And
dude, that's really young to retire. 55. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, if it's 54 or 55, who really cares, right? 55 is still very young. and to have that little extra financial buffer, both my wife and I have talked about it, and we've agreed it's worth putting in the little bit extra time. So, mid 18, it'll be here before we know it. We got a little countdown calendar on our refrigerator, and my wife drew it. It's actually very nice. It's a river, and all through the river are each one of the months. So every time we complete a month, we cross off the month, and at the end of the river is our cabin, and it says retirement. It's got June of 18. So we're counting our way down to June of 18 at this point.
Little things like that, like you have a river, little things like that sound so geeky, but, well, they are geeky because you are a super geek. So, okay, they are geeky. Let's just accept it. But they're actually pretty powerful. I have one client who has a mortgage dinosaur, and
okay.
it's like a funding, thermometer. And when they get to the top, they've retired their mortgage and they've made the dinosaur extinct. And then I have another.
I like it.
Yeah, and they actually literally on their wall, it's this huge. They have like this big decal dinosaur and this big thermometer, and then every time they get an update on their balance, they fill in the color.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then
you're right. It sounds geeky, but there is something motivational about it. I'm sure every time they make an extra payment, there's a little bit of enthusiasm as you fill in that bar, right? Every time I cross off a month on the river, it's exciting. I look forward to the times that I'll be home when we finish out a month and I get to cross out another month. It is something that keeps you on track and keeps you excited about the journey. So.
Yeah, it's a real simple gamification, I guess, is the term. And there's some science behind gamification, right? There are people like to earn badges and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to have like little badges along the river, like here you caught a fish and ate it, and you got to put the fish badge there or something. I don't know.
Now we're over the top.
That's what geeks do. So have you had any discussions with your wife? I've got to sit with you too, which was awesome. But have you had any discussions with your wife of what she's going to do when you're home 24/7?
Yeah, we've talked about that, and it's kind of nice because right now we're home for 10 days over the holidays, so we've kind of been saying, hey, this is kind of a mini retirement. Let's get a sense of what it's going to be like, and we've stayed at the cabin, and we've gone hiking, and we've done a lot of the things that we think we'll do in retirement, and we're together all the time, at least for this 10 days. And what's kind of evolved is she's gotten very actively involved in a local pet rescue charity. And, I've been writing a blog. I think we talked about that when we talked previously. So I've started this blog and I've spent quite a bit of time on that this week. She spent quite a bit of time on this pet charity. And what we're doing is, I've learned a lot of the software. It's not huge technology, but, some of the tools that you use in blogging, she's now learning and using those in the pet rescue work. So she's sending out a monthly newsletter. We've got several thousand followers on Facebook. So she's managing this fan base of this pet rescue organization, and she's getting very heavily engaged in that. So I think, we're each going to have our own interests like that we'll develop and spend time on. So we have things that personally, reward us. But at the same time, we're trying to develop a lot of interest like hiking. We took a 5-mile hike yesterday with our dogs. There's things that we like to do together that we'll have more time to do. So we're cognizant of the need to balance both of those. And it's still a work in progress. But I think that directionally, that's kind of the way that we see it kind of unfolding.
So what I hear is like she had her own transition when your child went off and started her own life. So she had her own transition, and you're going to have your own transition when you retire you have a pretty demanding job. And what I like is you're already finding you're about 2 years out from the date, 1 or 2 years out from the date, and you're already finding what your purpose is.
Exactly.
So
let's both of us are.
Yeah. So let's talk about your purpose, because it ties into what we're doing here, and it's pretty cool and it makes total sense. So tell me about this blog.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first approached you on the concept of doing this case study, I've always loved podcasting, and I've always thought, maybe I'll start a podcast at some point. And maybe I still will when we retire. But in the back of my mind, I was always, maybe I'll start blogging first. And because we did the case study and I spent time with you, it really did motivate me to say, you know what, I should really kind of test this out. So about 18 months ago, I started writing a blog, and it's really taken off. And it's all about retirement, as you'd expect. It's obviously a passion of mine, and it's kind of my story as we transition into retirement. What are we doing financially? What are we doing, in terms of seeking purpose? All these things we talk about, and it's really all about that. So I've been working at it for about a year and a half now, and I tell you, in 2016, it's just really it's not linear. It's almost kind of a compound growth thing where, it's kind of linear for the first year. In the last half of 16, this thing's kind of gone a little bit parabolic, and it's really taken off. And I'm really, really enjoying it. Don't make any money on it. I intentionally don't try to monetize it. I just do it as a way to try to help my readers learn from the experiences that we're going through. And I attribute a lot of that to you, because it all came from listening to your podcast several years ago that I started getting these ideas that, hey, I'm this is an interest of mine. It's a passion of mine. I might as well start writing about it. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
Absolutely.
Well, part of it, very small.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk, that's great. And it's a good blog. It's a great blog because you're fairly transparent, obviously.
Yeah.
You did Karl, right? So it's called what?
I will announce it here. I've not announced it because I've had Karl, obviously, in your stuff in the blog. I'm actually myself, and I'm transparent. So anybody wants to know who Karl is, this will be the tease. You have to go to www.theretirementmanifesto, just like the Communist Manifesto, but retirement, theretirementmanifesto.com. And you'll see everything in there about me and my family and our current situation. And I publish about one article a week, and it's all about retirement planning. So that's what it is. And
it's great. And Karl and I had some discussions as, okay, do you do this or do you not? I think it's for the greater good, and it's just part of living life together in a lot of ways, right?
That's right. And, I think we have a similar audience. The people that listen to your podcast, I'm sure, are people that are in the same mindset of the people that read my blog. And, I know a lot of podcast listeners aren't blog readers and vice versa.
I was going to say, you realize none of us are readers.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's interesting because I think there is some overlap. Obviously, I'm going to meet you at FinCon, right? We're going to be at FinCon together, and that is a blogging and podcasting conference. So there is some overlap, but there are groups of people that are either blog readers or podcast listeners. And there is a lot of the population that kind of does one or the other, but then there's kind of this group in the middle that does both. So I figured, what the heck, let's reach out to that group that likes to read about this stuff as well as listen about it. And I think both of us are trying to reach them with the same messages. Obviously, you're doing it more with the credentials, certified financial planner. You do this for a living. I'm doing this more as somebody who has been, moderately successful in setting himself up for an early retirement and talking about it more from a personal experience standpoint. But I address a lot of financial issues in there, how to turn your investment portfolio into a retirement paycheck. That was my most popular article from 16. So a lot of them are financial planning concepts, but they're presented from somebody that's living it, not somebody that does it, professionally. So it's a nice compliment to what you do, I think.
So one of the big lessons that I take from it, it's a great blog, theretirementmanifesto.com. Definitely go read it because it helps this journey. But what I like about it is the blog for you has been something that's natural. It fits your natural inclinations and interests and skills. But via the blog, you've found purpose, something that you love to noodle on every night. And before we started recording, you talked about the community of friends that you've developed around that activity, right?
That's correct. Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's crucial.
It's really, I look at it as right now, and all your listeners, I'd encourage them to do the same thing. If you're within 2 years of retirement, start building something now. And I consider it like a bridge. It's a bridge of something that you're investing time in now that will survive beyond your retirement date and give you a purpose after you retire, because your work won't, right? Your work's gone. So what are you going to build now that gives you purpose after retirement? And this does exactly that, because it gives me community. It gives me all my fellow bloggers. There's some forums that I'm active on, with bloggers. So it fills those areas that you're going to lose from work, and it gives you a purpose. It gives you, positive encouragement when you write a really good article and you get all these comments back and you get feedback from people that you're really helping them on their journey. that's purpose, right? And that's really rewarding. So you're right. It does exactly that.
Some important points here. One is, for you, this isn't about money. So if you are behind the eight ball a little bit, then maybe you cultivate something you can earn some money doing that you still love. So it doesn't have to be about money, but it can help if it is. And two, I mean, being
Absolutely.
Being online, being a blogger, being transparent is not for everybody. And if you look at your wife, she's doing the same thing, but in a much more local, intimate way in terms of the charity she's working with. That's giving her purpose.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be online and out there and producing. It could be, I have a gentleman who for 23 years straight delivers Meals on Wheels. And for him, that's his deal, right? Because the people on his route, a lot of them, he's the only person they see.
Yeah.
That's his purpose, and that's where he's developed his community. So it doesn't have to be online. It doesn't have to be about money. It's helpful if it is, but it doesn't have to be. I guess the point is, the bigger lesson is have that purpose.
That's right. Two other points I'd make on that. One is, I've done a lot of research, obviously, now that I write, 1,000-word article every week or so. A lot of the research I've done is what's the difference between a successful retirement and an unsuccessful retirement? And, so much of the focus as you're getting ready for retirement is on the financial aspect. But the reality of it is, if you look at what really defines successful versus unsuccessful post-retirement, it's whether or not you found something that really gives you a purpose to get up in the morning, a passion, those types of things. And it sounds soft and squishy, but if you look at the research, it's real, and those people that just focus on work, do I have enough money? Boom, I'm gone. And they retire with nothing to backfill it. They very often have a really difficult adjustment into the retirement years. So I think the purpose thing, the non-financial aspects are more important than people typically realize. That's number one. And then the second thing is, the other benefit this brings is, as I'm going about my daily life and just living things, I'm constantly writing. I love to write, so it feeds a passion of writing. But it also forces you to think as you're living life, because you're always looking for examples in the things that you're doing that could potentially become another blog. So it stimulates you mentally, because you're constantly thinking and you're constantly writing. So you've got to generate these ideas as you go about life, and then you've got to find a way to creatively transfer those into words that are going to be educational and hopefully somewhat entertaining for the reader. It stimulates your mind at the same time. So that's a huge benefit of it.
Well, Karl, thanks so much for giving us the update. I'm excited about your blog, the retirementmanifesto.com. It's great. And I'm excited that we're about to launch the 3rd annual Retirement Plan Live. So thanks so much for coming on.
You're very welcome. And I do say this right now. I know you've been soliciting people to put their names in for the case studies, and I would encourage all your listeners, put your name in. It's an incredible experience to go through. My wife and I benefited tremendously from the work that Roger did with us, and it's what's put us on track. Without the work that we had done with you through the Can Karl Retire series, we wouldn't have near the confidence that we have now that we're going to be able to do this. So it's a wonderful series. I look forward to a year starting in 2017. And you can be assured I'll be listening to every one of your podcasts. I always have, and I'm excited to see the case studies that you've got profiled here in the coming year.
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Nice talking with you.
Hey, welcome to the Happy Lab, where we noodle on how to live a happier life. Now, at the end of every year, they do all of these articles on all the celebrities that have passed away over the last year. Now this isn't happy. In 2017, we had David Bowie, we had Glenn Fry of the Egos, Muhammad Ali, Prince, Gene Wilder, Florence Henderson, Mrs. Brady, George Michael, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, all these people that die, and it's very sad, obviously, right? And a lot of these people, you and I, I'm guessing, grew up with. We idolized, we had crushes on, we enjoyed everything that they did. That can hit home. How does this tie into the Happy Lab stuff? Well, each of these people still had dreams. They still had aspirations. They still had people they were involved with. And That was robbed from them. Their dreams, their plans for the future, the people they meant to get in touch with, that was robbed from them when they passed away. And that is not happy, right? That's very sad. And I've, in my family, had to experience a lot of premature deaths of my mother and my sister and other people in my life, and it is sad. And I've always used it as a big knock on the shoulder, a big tap on the shoulder, or you could say a bat upside the head. Say, hey, you better get living. You better go do the things that you want to do. You better be brave about the things that you want to get done. You better talk to the people that you are meaning to talk to, because this is your chance. You are alive. So take that as a call to be happy and go do those things. Now let's get to the Smart Sprint.
On your marks, get set.
Welcome to the first Smart Sprint of 2017. All right. In the next 7 days, I challenge you to do one of three things. This is all related to making this podcast and the blog more important for you and more impactful for you. So my challenge is, 1, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, because that's going to help bring more people to the community. If you don't want to do that, number 2, go to rogerwhitney.com/blog. Take a look at the first blog. We'll be doing one every week, and leave a comment on the subject and see if we get conversations going there, because that's going to start building community so we can learn from each other. Or number 3, go to rogerwhitney.com/retirement answers and ask a question. Ask a question so we can share it on the show, because we're going to have a lot more case studies and we're going to answer a lot more of your questions so we can start making 2017 our best year yet. Hey, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the Retirement Answer Man podcast. I have so much fun interacting with all of you in all the ways that we do on the podcast, on webinars, and via email. Looking forward to this year. I hope you and your family have a wonderful year. I hope you make it an amazing year. Until next week, this is Roger Whitney, the Retirement Answer Man.
We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of Retirement Answer Man. Be sure to visit rogerwhitney.com/answers to access the Retirement Answer Library with over 30 checklists to help you make the most of the only life you have. Remember, you have more power than you realize to create an amazing life starting today with Retirement Answer Man. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Have a wonderful day.